What is a dark secret that you have? Last year I went into the hospital for COVID. I had to be put on a vent for 3 weeks, put into a medical coma, resuscitated a couple of times and was pretty close to death for those entire 3 weeks. My dark secret is I wanted to die. I was going through a divorce and suffering from severe depression. I just felt like my world was over and there was nothing to live for. I was almost happy that a virus was going to do what I was too chicken crap to do myself. I was accepting that death was coming and didn't care to fight it. It wasn't until while in my medical coma they had my family come to tell me bye as they thought I wouldn't make it through the night that I decided I wanted to live. I am an only child and was raised by a single mother. I heard her telling me how much she loved me and that I was such a fighter and to keep fighting. That was a moment that turned everything around. It gave me a will and want to live. I had a turnaround that night and lived and slowly started recovering. It has been a long and hard road to recovery and I am still not there yet. Had I not had that moment of hearing her, I am pretty sure I would have died. I have told my mom about how much hearing her meant to me, but I have told no one about how I was ready and wanting to die at the time. If the hospital hadn't lifted their COVID protocols to allow my mom into the room to say goodbye, I think I would have just accepted death. My wife has stage 4 breast cancer. I am watching her slowly die. The dark secret that no one knows, not even my wife, is if it wasn't for our 3 kids, 6, 8, 11, I would end my own life after she passes. This may be her last Christmas. Don't end your life. Not only do your kids need you, there will be life once you process this grief. Please seek counseling. My best friend from childhood came over to my college dorm to hang out one night. He bought coke and pills from other guys living on my hall for a party he was going to, and honestly I was impressed with him for being so well versed in the buying of drugs and charismatic with my dorm mates. Before he left he told me not to tell his mother what he was doing but to tell her he loved her if he died, and I thought something was wrong. But I'll let him go because we had plans for the next day and I figured he had just developed a dark sense of humor in the time since we'd last seen each other. In retrospect he'd shown all of the signals, but I refused to see them, so I'll let him drive away. He didn't make it. He crashed his car minute hours later that night, with no seatbelt, probably high. His mother asked me what happened. I didn't tell her anything because I wanted her to think it was an innocent accident. I didn't want her to know what he got into. I'm still keeping his secret. That's frickin' heavy, bro. My dad killed himself and called all his kids the night before. He made it look like an accident cause he thought it was the only way to take care of my mother, set her up with his life insurance, wrote a note saying mow the lawn, then just ran lawnmowers in the garage with the doors closed till he died of gas poisoning. Neighbor ran over and helped my mom when she got home from work, thankfully, as he was the local sheriff, so when all the police arrived he took care of the talking and said the door was up. So it was duped and accident and my mom got the money my dad intended her to get. After coming to peace with it, I'd just like to urge anyone with that mindset, don't kill yourself, money comes and goes. That's really sad, brave but so sad because love is everything and I can't imagine losing my partner over insurance money. I'm sorry you lost your dad. I had a friend create a fake high school diploma for me. Then I used it to get a job teaching English in a foreign country. Then the company that hired me created a fake BA in English for me. That was then used for me to get my residence permit. Yup. Dang. You took fake it till you make it super seriously, LMAO. Years ago, I got a summer job at a grocery store. I was a teenager, from a poor family, just trying to get a job so that we could afford food. My mom couldn't afford to feed us in the summer without the school lunches, but she made slightly too much to qualify for food stamps. If you've ever been poor, you know how it goes. The manager was a complete asswipe who fired me 2 weeks in because, and I quote, "I just don't like your personality." We had never actually spoken until that point. I cried because my mom was counting on me to be able to pay for the groceries that week and I told him that. He told me I was being dramatic. The store had these barcodes they would stick on things to mark them down if they were expired. I realized that I still had the rolls of printed up stickers in my pocket when I got home because I had been marking things down that day. I copied the stickers off onto sticky paper and stole probably a few $1,000s of groceries that summer. I technically did pay for the groceries because I was checking them out at the self-checkout and paying money for them, but I was getting salmon fillets and racks of ribs for $2, big veggie trays for $1, expensive cheese for $99, etc. I was careful not to be too greedy and not try to buy a cart full of expensive crap at a time. I would do several smaller transactions at self-checkouts and spread it out over about a dozen stores. It was a big, crappy, national corporate chain. I paid always in cash. I never got caught. I told my mom that I got an academic scholarship and that's where I got the money for the groceries. I don't feel bad about it and the statute of limitations is expired anyway. You did what you had to do to survive. No family should have to be put in that spot. I was homeschooled up until college and completely cheated my whole way through my senior year. Had the answers online to everything. My mother would get into rage mode and she would slap me around like a rag doll for years. As soon as I was pee myself like a dog she would go on overdrive mode. My father only had eyes for my sister and never addressed me. I made a promise to myself that one day I'll make them both pay. I cut off all ties for 5 years now and never felt better. I owed it to my inner child. When I was 16 I went over to a buddy's place and thought it would be funny to sneak inside and scare him. I knew their back porch door was usually unlocked so I let myself in and quietly went upstairs. His sister's room was on the way to his and as I passed it, I saw them together. They were making out and he was fingering her, so I got forward there and decided I'd never mention it. They're both still friends of mine, and weirdly close, despite having their own partners in life. It still makes me uncomfortable. At least you didn't get pushed off the side of a castle. I've been a mediocre employee for a few years and then COVID happened. Work from home all this time and my performance has improved. I've been promoted with $6 HR raise and my secret? I watching Netflix and play RuneScape the entire time while treating my job as a side thing. When I was a young teenage boy, 13 or 14, 32ish years ago, I was in a program called Explorers. It's part of the Boy Scouts, I believe. The troop I was in worked alongside the local sheriff's department. We were essentially young police officers in training. We'd go to the shooting range, ride along with officers, work special events with officers, etc. We had uniforms and were allowed to carry handcuffs and a radio. Every year there was a weekend event that was kind of like boot camp. It was held at a National Guard base and kids from all over the state came. There were a few hundreds kids ranging in age from about 13 to 17. We stayed in a barracks-style arrangement with a large open room with single beds. Probably about 30 kids to a barracks. At the time, I was a small kid that had not yet started puberty. I got picked on a lot due to my size, which I believe was around 4 feet 8 inches at the time. One day, while the whole barracks was on a break, I don't know how it started, but at some point I find myself having to defend myself from a group of older kids fricking with me. They are trying to capture me. We are making a lot of noise and pretty soon, it seems like everyone in the room is looking in my direction. More kids join in, others just watch. Soon enough they have me. What seems to me like the oldest kid has taken charge of the situation. They take me to one of the beds and have me face down. I remember trying to bite, claw and kick free. I can't get free, because handcuffs. I don't remember all of the details, but I remember them pulling my pants down and trying to penetrate me with a broomstick. To this day, I don't believe they were successful. I don't remember anyone coming to my aid, but maybe that's why it stopped. Maybe I fought enough they got bored. I don't know. The next thing I know, everyone is getting ready for the next event and we're outside lined up in formation ready to soldier on. I've never told anyone about this. Not one of the many police officers there. Not my parents. Not my wife. Just the fine people of Reddit. I don't think about it often and I don't feel like it's had an overbearing effect on my life. But as I type this there are a lot of emotions coming with it. Thanks for reading. Freaking heck, that made my blood boil. Thank you for sharing and I hope you are doing well. I had a former co-worker who was a total C to me. She straight up bullied me at work. Twice I walked into a room while she was actually crap talking me by name. A few months after quitting that job, I looked up a revenge prank site and had a box of cow crap mailed to her at my former workplace. According to other people still working there, she threw an ugly crying tantrum the day she opened the package and was coddled by upper management. Sweet, sweet vengeance. I didn't tell my live-in partner about what I had done. He would have been livid and scared for the feds to show. Summer camp. I was 13/14 years old. 7 days no poop. In the middle of the 8th night I wake up because I'm exploding. I don't reach the bathroom on time, so I pooped almost everywhere while running. I reached the bathroom, washed and then went back to my tent to sleep. The next day everyone thought an animal like a bear or deer had entered the camp and crap everywhere. No one ever found out that that bear was me. I'm something of a bear shitter myself. My maternal grandmother, who recently died, murdered at least one of her husbands for his money, and possibly more, because she had several who died under mysterious circumstances. She was never convicted, but the dude died from rare earth metal poisoning that developed from years of eating tainted food. She cooked every single one of his meals during that period of time. Notably, she did not get poisoned herself. Through ancestry DNA testing and processes of elimination, I discovered my paternal grandfather is not my biological grandfather. I haven't told anyone in my family, including my dad who adored his father-grandfather. I'm probably going to let this one go to the grave. In 2009 me and my friend were smoking near the canal when a car stopped on the other side and two old guys threw something wrapped in a massive package into the Grand Union Canal in London. Then they sped off and so we ran away. We were 17 and 18 at the time. No one knows that I moved to Europe to stop me killing myself when I failed out of uni. All they know is that I impulsively booked a one-way ticket on a lunch break and moved a few months later. Been here 5 years this coming March and I'm at the top university in my country, and 25th in the UK. My mom had a friend who had 2 kids of her own, both girls. Sometimes we'd go over and visit, and normally I got the impression that my mom's friend was a pretty crap person. Her kids were a little fricked up too, but normally in more of a I don't wanna behave the way you want me to way than a I'm doing this to be a dong way, you know? One time we went to visit and I was like maybe 5 or 6 years old. They were misbehaving pretty bad, being like general trolls. Eventually they calmed down and I was playing some normal butt kids game when they thought it'd be funny to run around with their clothes off. Obviously I did not participate and was a bit mortified, but also maybe felt a little something I never had before. Anyways, eventually the mom caught up and found them both hiding in the room with me. We knew they'd be punished. They were misbehaving pretty dang bad. Their mom then dragged the oldest naked into the bathroom, locked outside. I heard her beat the frick out of her child. Heard the whole thing. The yelling, the crying, and the meaty fricking slaps landing. The kid walked out of there with bruises and a black eye and went to put on clothes. It's one of the earliest memories I still have. Never even occurred to me a parent could possibly do that to their own kid. I planned an elaborate 2+ year suicide plan that led everyone down gently in the best way possible. I moved to another state, basically told everyone to F off, and just held the fort down until people quit calling. After that, I'd give it about 6 months, do the deed, and then take my life. The objective would be a good riddance more than a he will be missed response. The problem? My mother. She drove to me monthly and called me daily. She always knew something was up BC. She'd always end our convos with remember, I need you around and will always love you, and it shook me to my core. Later on, my best friend started spam calling me all the dang time. Annoyed, I finally answered. It went to the tune of finally you butthole, let's catch up, and he would do that weekly. Then, oh boy, my mom brought me a cat. She put me in therapy and with a psychiatrist. He suggested we get an emotional support animal. That cat saved my life more than once. One night, I couldn't take it. I started writing the final letters to everyone. I apologized to every person that got written to about the treatment, but it was the way it had to be. Then, my mom's letter. I cried so dang hard. When I started writing about take good care of the cat, I bawled uncontrollably. I exhausted myself and passed out at my desk. I woke up to cat taps and chirps BC. It was time for his treats and food. He still lives with me and I love him more than anything. I'm a grown butt man that will drop anything to pet a cat. To me, they're little angels. Nobody knows of this except my wife, mother, and therapist, and it's my darkest memory secret. You have an incredible story, and mother, glad you're still around. Pet that cat for me. My husband never graduated college, but leads everyone to believe he did, and has established a remarkable career while using this falsified information. He doesn't know that I know, and I'm never going to tell him. He's the smartest person I know and generally honest to a fault. His secret dies with me. How did you find out? Not exactly dark, but I'm pretty sure my son isn't biologically mine. There was a lot of doubt about the date of conception and multiple people his mother cheated on me with. But after months of being promised he was mine, I foolishly just accepted it, or told myself to anyway. Cut to him being 3 months old, she decides she's scared of him and can't look after him. He's now 7 years old and never sees his mum. She's vanished and doesn't even check in with him. He's my son no matter what anyone could tell me as far as I'm concerned at this point though. I've raised him and loved him unconditionally for the past 7 years and will continue to do for the rest of his life. And if I'm being honest, I'm also really scared to get a DNA test more than anything, for fear that if I found out he isn't mine I won't love him or look at him the same way. I don't think I would ever do that personally, but you just never know how a highly emotional situation is going to make you react or feel sometimes. Being a sperm donor doesn't make you a father. Putting in 7 years of love and relationship is what makes you a dad. You're doing great. I have a very large family. People I still don't know, even I'm 44 now. Back in high school in the early 90s I had a normal teens years. Met a beautiful girl in the swim team. We started dating. After a couple months of going out, we started getting more serious than the deed happened. Our relationship was maybe about a year in when I got her pregnant. She was pregnant with twins. 2 beautiful girls. On the 8th month of the pregnancy we found out that her mother and my mother were actually first cousins. So that made us second cousins. We found out nearly 2 years after starting dating. As you can expect, the entire family went DEFCON1 and were divided over this for many years to come. Frick it, by this time, she and I were deeply in love. We got married, we had a somewhat happy marriage. 12 years later we divorced as we started to grow apart. Usually happens when married too young. Anyway, we went our separate ways. I started my business. Bought her a house so that she can live in peace with our daughters, and I bought my house nearby. We divorced, but we remained close friends for the sake of our daughters. Now they are adults and love me and their mom equally, since we worked together to raise them even after the divorce. Props to you for working with your ex to put your differences aside and be committed parents to your kids. When my parents split up, they caused a shit show I'm yet to recover from. I was addicted to M and was being used as a pawn for more drugs when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. 8.5 months clean. She's 3 weeks old tomorrow. My father once yelled at me about something I didn't do. I know you did it. You're just too freaking smart to be caught, and I realized that was true. So I started doing things I shouldn't, and quickly realized I was good at it. My dad did the same thing, and it ended up with me making a shoplifting ring with some friends to steal and resell Yu-Gi-Oh cards in middle school. Raged at a video game and threw a strategy guide into the wall of my childhood home so hard it busted a huge hole in it. I put a poster over the hole. My parents still haven't found it. I did the same thing. My stepmom peed me off and sent me to my room. I grabbed a handful of books off my shelf and chucked them at my wall, putting a couple holes in the drywall. I covered it with a poster too. It was 3 years before they found out. Got my butt beat hardcore that day. Using my throwaway. I used to work at an investment bank. However, to get the job I had to do a variety of assessments, which among others included an Excel financial modeling test. Now I'm quite experienced with Excel. Have built lots of complex financial models. But what this task involved was to make some corrections to a very poorly built financial model. Not intentionally bad. Just whoever did it didn't know their stuff well. They leave me in a room with a laptop to complete this task. I open up the spreadsheet and have very little idea where to start. This is just making no sense. As I'm scanning through the tabs desperately trying to find things I'm able to do, I notice something saved on the desktop. Some previous candidate's attempt was saved there. Well, I opened it up and started copying what that guy had done and added a few tweaks of my own. I ended up getting the job. I grew up in Maryland. When I was 16, me and my friends were driving home from a party. All of us were intoxicated, so we were on a back road trying to lay low. Suddenly we came across an overturned Jeep and immediately pulled over, completely freaking out. The driver was crushed, but the passenger was still alive. He couldn't talk or anything and was struggling to breathe. My one friend pulled him from the vehicle and then he just stopped breathing. He died right in front of us. At that point, we were all freaking the frick out debating whether to call the cops or even do anything because again, we were all teenagers, nobody wanted to get a DUI that night. So we just went home. And as soon as we got back my one friend took the fall and told the police what happened, etc. Here's the worst part. The two people in the Jeep were the parents of some girl in my class, and I thought about that night for the rest of high school. So many things that could have been done differently. If you call for an ambulance for someone hurt, I'm pretty sure you are legally protected somehow. I remember having to do those alcohol EDU things in college and they said if you were underage and drinking they couldn't arrest you if you called to help someone. Maybe someone can chime in with more legal experience. When I was a small child, my mother's friend Amy was babysitting. Amy had a son and for whatever reason he broke one of his brand new toys while I was there. When his mother found out, he blamed me and she believed him. She let all the kids go outside in the pool while I had to stay inside and do the dishes. Well, I wasn't washing them the way she wanted, so she grabbed the back of my neck and shoved my face into the hot soapy water and smacked my face. Later that night I had to shower over her house, so I pee in her mouthwash and hair conditioner while I was in the bathroom. Still makes me smile thinking of that bee gargling my little boy pee. My mother is an angel of death. By that, I mean that in 2 separate cases she poisoned our family dogs to death, and when her father was in late stage of his cancer, she overdosed him with an enormous dose of morphine to end his life. My grandfather is the only one she has admitted to. As terrifying as that is, it gets worse. She spent several years working in a retirement home as a nurse. She eventually was exited from that job. Not fired, didn't quit, but was quietly exited from the residence. It goes without saying, we don't speak and she is not allowed near anyone I care about. I keep buying books, way more than I read. After 20 years I've got 4,000 plus books. I am in debt of 3,000 euros. Nobody knows. I am trying to stop buying, but it's a voice. It's just this one. This is cheap. Dang it. I have a wife and child and I really want to drop this. How do you call it? I am dropping YouTube channels of books. Trying to leave Goodreads and hear book stuff. But it's hard. It's that series. Is that author. Wisho could have 3,000 euros, but unfortunately it will take some years. Minimal wage in Portugal is crappy and with monthly stuff to pay. Yeah, my secret. My aunt kept hearing other baby voices on her baby monitor. Not her baby. There were no babies next door, but it must have been picking up some other baby somewhere, and as I am in IT, I knew this. But as a joke I told her I saw a program on TV and that baby monitors can pick up deceased children. I thought she knew I was joking, but then I find out she got a priest in to bless the house. Then she put it on the market for cheap and moved out. I think she lost 100 grand. She never mentioned it to anyone else in the family why she was moving, and I just kept quiet and kept it to myself for all these years, feeling guilty. I had fully intended on killing myself. Had notes written out to family and friends. Everything all planned out. That day I was going to go through with it, I found out I had a son on the way. He's a few months old now and he'll probably never know this, but he saved my life. I still struggle with anxiety, depression, and I was recently diagnosed bipolar, but if it wasn't for him I definitely wouldn't be here. It's an odd feeling knowing how I almost missed out on his life. I owned a computer store in the 90s. We copied every single program. If it was shareware we changed the date on the computer, installed the software and updated the date, and we'd get 999 years of the program. I am a registered Microsoft Silver partner and I still sell computers with cracked Windows and pirated Office if the client asks for it. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.